Good morning, everyone. So it is the 6th of October, and we have a couple more days and a wake up before we all gather in Washington, D.C., and still waiting for the bike. I'm here in the wonderful area of Central Illinois and hanging out with some good guys that are trying to fix things in their local market. But as I have been interacting this morning, I've had a couple of folks give me some very good feedback, and I want to start by saying thank you very much for all the feedback on ways that I can improve and grow and learn. I take those comments, constructive criticism or otherwise, very seriously, and I do try to improve constantly. So I may not be perfect. As a matter of fact, I can guarantee you that somebody that looks like me is not perfect. I've got all kinds of craziness in my background. Some of you know more than others, and very few people know everything. So as this continues to unfold and as things continue to happen, it's really fascinating to me how much people don't want to believe what our government has done. And I'll give you a great example. There is a series of events that unfolded in the 1980s, 90s, and all the way into 2000s. About a 25-year period of time, give or take, maybe closer to 30 years. And it all started with the Contra affair in South America. And if you want to really just have your mind blown, I mean literally blown, about how devious and frankly flat out disgusting some of the people that work for our government are, look into the Contra affairs. And to make it really easy for people, I mean like really, really super easy for people, check out a movie. A movie came out, I think it was last year. I'm not sure the date because honestly I haven't watched movies or gone to theaters in a long time, but a couple of my good friends had let me know about a movie called Kill the Messenger. And I don't know the actor that was in it. I don't know all of the information, but from what I understand from some very good friends, that movie does a pretty good job of detailing what happened during the Contra affair and to one individual named Gary Webb. And so I was reminded about Gary Webb last night through a conversation with somebody that I know very well. And in that conversation, I briefly did some research and just reminded myself of some of the details. So here's a short summary of some of the things that our government does. Our government was using drug cartels and informants and several other key players in a major drug war in order to bring in millions of dollars worth of cocaine to the United States. They then turned a blind eye, encouraged. There's lots of really good information that you can get through Freedom of Information Act, thanks to Gary Webb and all of the research that he did out of, I think he was with the San Jose newspapers. I don't remember everything, but I remember enough to be able to talk about things. So look up Gary Webb, look up the information that he published, look up all of the stuff that was corroborated after Mr. Oliver North was a patsy and used in order to keep the upper administration from having any kind of a tarnishing effect on their careers. Look at the drug war in the United States. Look at the conviction rates of people that are on drugs and narcotics that have no other violent criminal backgrounds, but they are serving long-term careers in prison because they happen to use drugs that in a lot of ways they got because our federal government was essentially running a major sting operation over a period of about 20 years. And during that time, most of these guys probably wouldn't have gotten access to nearly the quantities of drugs that they had access to had our government not been actually giving them the access. So why is it that people question when I start talking about how the government isn't full of all of these really nice, super duper people that have got our best interests at heart? Why is it that I have to constantly do the research for everyone else? Get off your butt, use your computer, use some request for freedom of information access, and find out for yourself. Because I'm not some conspiracy nutbag that's trying to connect dots that aren't connected. I'm talking about actual stuff. I'm talking about things that you can go out right now today and find validated news sources talking about. So get off me a little bit and do your own research a little bit, because you all don't know much about me, and I don't know very much about most of you. But for God's sakes, people, take a little bit of time and come down off the high horse just a smidge, just once in a while, and actually look a little bit further than all of the noise and nonsense that you're being fed by the television system. I mean, come on. It's not that complicated. Gary Webb, kill the messenger, 30 years of proven corruption within our governmental system. And the CIA was very, very involved in all of that. And who was one of the heads of the CIA programs at the time when all of that came out? I think he became vice president under, oh, that's right, Mr. Reagan. So Reagan had a horrible relationship with Congress for quite some time, and Congress would not allow him to fight his war against, his proxy war against Russia in all of the ways that he wanted. And so somehow Oliver North got this brilliant idea to start this Contra program. It's all a mystery. Just like Nixon had nothing to do with Watergate and all of the stuff that happened during that stuff, except for, oh, that's right, there are audio tapes that talk about exactly what he was planning to do to any journalism person that stood up to him. His own voice on audio tape for hours. These people are not innocent. These people are not there for us. These people are not in it for what's best for patriotism and liberty and freedom and democracy. It's not what they're there for. They are there for nothing less than their addictions. They're addicts. They are absolutely addicts. And to be fair, we are all addicted to something in some way. And what I mean by that, some people are addicted to adrenaline. I had that problem for quite some time. And some people are addicted to drugs. Some people are addicted to alcohol. Some people are addicted to helping others. Some people are addicted to work. We all have our own afflictions. We all have our own weaknesses. Just because these people are power addicts doesn't necessarily mean that they are horrible, monstrous people. It means that they are making decisions without using the logic center of their brain, because they are feeding their addiction before they're worried about anything but their addiction. And so I think that as a nation, when you hear things like the tree of liberty must be refreshed with the blood of patriots and tyrants from time to time, that's kind of an alluding to the fact that when things get too far out of line, revolutions happen. And I don't think that the tree of liberty has lacked any blood for any of the 200 and some odd years that we've been a country. I think that it's been very well fed through World War I, World War II, Vietnam, the Korean War, all of them. I think we have more than fed the tree of liberty. So what I believe is the tree of liberty needs to have a good pruning. And the pruning is getting rid of the corruption, because there are two branches within our government right now. There is the Republican branch and the Democrat branch. And right now, those branches don't give a rat's patootie about anyone other than their controlling power. And they have gotten so distorted and so twisted and so gnarled that the party leadership has absolutely no comprehension of what it means to represent the American public anymore. And that's unacceptable to me. And I know it's unacceptable to my running mate because he and I talk about this kind of stuff from time to time, and he and I have very candid conversations when we do get a chance to talk, as I'm riding back and forth across the country and as he's working on the platforms and all of the things that he has to do, because frankly he's got a hell of a lot tougher job than I have. And so you've got to realize, folks, this isn't about our government is evil. This isn't about somebody else's government is evil. This isn't about anybody is evil. This is about absolute power corrupts absolutely. There's a reason why our founders and the subsequent leaders of this country have established term limits for the presidency. And just like people like to say that minimum wage is not supposed to be a career position, politics is not supposed to be a career position. For a reason. You get into that system and you get that much power, and it can overcome even the most amazing leaders. And I think that's what's happened to both the Republican Party and the Democrat Party, is they have become so addicted to the power that they have lost sight of who they are there to represent. And so they are doing everything they can to maintain that power. And they pretend to fight with each other, but I don't see any legitimate fight between them. I see them use legislation and pork barrel projects and all these things to make the legislation so convoluted that nobody knows what they're really voting for or against. And they're not even writing the legislation anymore. At this point, they're just outright saying it. We have to pass it to know what's in it because our lobbyists are writing the legislation. Both parties have said similar things. So it's time to wake up, America. It's time to realize that that government belongs to us, we the people. And if we aren't engaged in it, then shame on us. And after the last election, when some about 1/3%, 1/3 of the population voted in the last election. That is horrific. We haven't seen numbers like that since pre-World War II, if I remember right. And so it's time. It's time to get off your couch. It's time to put down the remote and realize that even though it's very comforting and soothing to stay at home, curl up in your blankets, hug your family, and try to tune out everything by watching whatever soap opera style TV show you happen to be into, whether it's, I don't know, Shield or Law and Order, or there's so many of them I don't even know anymore. I haven't watched them in years. While that's very comforting, and while that helps you take your mind off of all of the things that are really wrong in our country right now today, it's not going to work, folks. As Chris says, I am someone. Instead of waiting for someone else to do something about this, I am someone. And so are you. And if nothing else, if you have kids or grandkids, or you intend to have kids or grandkids, or you have nieces and nephews, somewhere out there you have family that's going to continue on long after you're walking this earth. And I think we have a moral obligation, not just for us, but for our future generations. And I believe very much that God gave us charge over this planet and all of His creation here on this planet. And I believe that we have a moral responsibility to take care of our future generations. And I know that I get a little bit religious from time to time, and maybe for some people that are more atheist, that's a problem. I'm sorry, I'm not perfect. I'm not going to be perfect, so you're going to have to deal with me as I am, or don't. That's really your option. And for folks that don't understand, my philosophies are much more about spirituality. I will never, ever be a part of an organized religion ever again. I have a lot of my own personal reasons for that, but I'm done with organized religion, because organized religion turns into a form of government and has for centuries. So I'm much more native or paganistic or agnostic or deist. Whatever you want to label me is fine. You can call me whatever you want. The reality is, I know my relationship with my Creator, and that's what matters. So God bless you. God bless your family and everyone that you have in your life. And I hope that you find the peace and prosperity that we are promised by understanding and following the teachings of whether you believe in Jesus Christ and or one of the thousands of prophets that have walked this earth. I wish you well. See you all out on the road.